is that not every job really needs to be bid out. There are a lot of small jobs out there, jobs under $1,000. And I've had boards come to me and say, well, we have this job, it's about, it's a plumbing job, we want to get 3 bids for it. And realistically, it's very difficult, especially these days, to get contractors to show up and actually bid on a very, and I say small jobs, those are generally jobs under, say, $5,000. And it's very difficult. And the more times you bring contractors out and they don't get the job, the less times those contractors will want to work in buildings. And sometimes there's very talented people out there to do it. Now, I don't mean you shouldn't be cautious of what, pricing is, but I think your managing agent has general idea what, like hour, etc. And it's not always practical to go bid jobs that are not, substantial, or at least at a minimum level. I also think that, everyone has to understand their role in the process of establishing a relationship with the contractor. Who's running the job? Who's in charge of making sure the job is done properly? Obviously, managing agents are paid to deal with contractors on a day-to-day basis, but sometimes board members get involved in with contractors too. And unfortunately, sometimes more than one board member may get involved with a contractor. So the contractor has to have a key person that they deal with on a day-to-day basis at the job to make sure that not too many people are, mixing the soup, so to speak. And I also think that, communication is very, very important, and that, everybody should have, when dealing with hiring a contractor, boards have to be aware of what, the contractor is capable of doing. The contractor has to be vetted.
Whether it be the physical distancing, the protective equipment, there should be an appropriate place in the apartment or the room or the building for cleaning and hygiene of the employees. You should have adequate communication and tracing if it turns out that there is somebody that is subject to the COVID or has been subject to the COVID in the past 14 days. We recommend that there be an agreement between the contractor, as we've said, and the shareholder, but that these days that agreement also include the fact that the shareholder should accept responsibility for not being COVID liable, I guess, for a better word. They should not be subject to the disease at the time when they have contractors in, or they should not have been subject to the disease or anyone that had the disease for at least 14 days prior to allowing the contractor in. And that should all be set forth in writing between the contractor and the shareholder, and the co-op should be made aware of this and be given a copy of the contract. And I've said, has to approve the renovation or work prior to it commencing.
Everybody is concerned about dollars and cents. So you want to make sure that before you start a project with the contractor, that contractor is cognizant of all of the things that have to be done on the job, and that all of the possible extras that may come into play are included in there, and they should be ironed out before you start the job. You know, what type of roof are you going to use, Mr. Contractor? Well, we're going to use a bitumen roof, or we're going to use a rollout roof. It doesn't matter. You got to know what pricing that contractor has, because you don't want to have a lot of extras. I'm doing a project downtown. It's an exterior restoration project, and the GC has already submitted 6 change orders to the job, because there's been a lot of extras that have taken place, everybody's fully aware of it, but it's additional work and additional cost to the co-op that took place as part of this ongoing process. So try to find out as much as you can from the contractor. Make sure that the contractor knows what he or she is doing and that they know what costs are involved with this work. You want to know about cost overruns because when the property manager comes back to the co-op and to the board that this all of this work is laid out for everybody in the building. Oh, we have to send out an assessment of $30 a month for the next 3 years. Nobody's going to like that, but you know, it may be part of the job moving forward. You also want to know, and it's very important, especially in these days with all of the different rules and regulations that we have with the building departments and the COVID and all of that other work that's happening, is that if there are any delays that are going to take place, the contractor should discuss that with the property manager, with the engineer or architect, if there is one on the job, with the board at some point. And if there's dollars and cents that are associated with that, we should know that from the contractor ahead of time. We don't want any surprises. That's the biggest single problem that we have when we're dealing with contractors, and also with boards that want to know what's happening. So I'll repeat the word again: make sure you have transparency.
Everything that we're talking about here comes down to business decisions. You know, you may work with a certain contractor or a certain management company because, among other reasons, maybe they're the most cost effective. They may be the most cost effective maybe because they have less staff and less time to do these paperwork and administrative type things. But the chances of a liability claim are generally, you know, small. They don't happen all that often. So you may say, hey, look, I'd rather save the money and go with the less expensive contractor or the less expensive managing agent, because that's real money and I'm saving that money each and every month. And I know that I'm going to save it and I probably won't have a claim. And if I do, you know, maybe the contractor's insurance will work, but if it doesn't, my building's insurance will pay, and I'll worry about the ramifications of paying out that claim. I'll worry about that after it happens, you know, and it hasn't happened in the last 10 years. So I got a pretty good track. I mean, you can have that school of thought, and that's fine. If you don't subscribe to that school of thought, then obviously you've got to do something more proactive and, you know, tell the management firm that you're paying them and this is what you expect and require. And if they're telling you it's going to cost more money, then ask them how much more money in order to get it the way you want it and the way that you know is the right way.